Hello super friends and welcome to DC TV Talk. This is the show where we talk all things Supergirl, The Flash, Legends of Tomorrow, Arrow and Black Lightning. And in today's video we're going to be discussing a recent revelation that's going to be happening in Legends of Tomorrow and how it's become fruition in the latest episode, being episode 11 of season 3 of Legends of Tomorrow, and also how this links into the supposed main villain of this season, Mallus. So let's discuss. So at the very end of episode 11, we all got the expected moment we were waiting for, where we see Rip Hunter go to China to recruit none other than Wally West. Wally West is of course Kid Flash on The Flash, and while he's incredibly underused on that show, he's now being moved over to the Legends of Tomorrow as a full-time member. Now we won't see him become a full-time member until episode 13, but he is now on the show. We've now seen him on the show. And it's a really nice little 20-second moment, literally, where Rip just says, "Look, I need your help." And it's just a really cool scene, and I'm really excited to see Wally get introduced onto the show. But I feel that the reason Wally could get introduced, he may have a link somewhere. Now, this ties into probably the biggest Mallus theory I have seen. Now, I've wanted to do a theory on Mallus for a very long time, but I just haven't had enough evidence to go off of to fully predict who he is or who he could be. And in this video, I'm going to be discussing a particular theory, which I don't necessarily agree with, so this is more going to be debunking it. However, it's still a cool theory to discuss nonetheless. It's an interesting one, and the evidence supplied is actually pretty interesting, even though when you look at it in all reality, it's not actually true. But it's still an interesting point, so let's discuss, is Mallus Savitar? So, just a quick recap if you don't know who Savitar was. This is a very difficult thing to explain, but here we go. Savitar was a future time remnant created by Barry Allen to defeat Savitar, and Savitar killed all of these time remnants that Barry created except for one. This one time remnant was then completely shoved aside by Team Flash because he wasn't a real person technically, and this made him angry and jealous. So what this time remnant did is he ran back in time and made himself the supposed first speedster, and throughout time this changed the course of history to where people were worshipping this god of speed named Savitar, and this time remnant actually became Savitar, and it's all part of an infinite time loop. And this character was the main villain of The Flash season 3. Are you confused by that? Yeah, I am as well. I don't even know. That probably wasn't even the best explanation, but the thing is, there's no true explanation, fully complete explanation about who Savitar is, how he was created, how he came about. I've got an interesting video coming up, an interesting bigger theory video regarding Savitar, but he's just such a confusing character in terms of how he actually exists. But that's who he was. Basically, in simpler terms, he was the main villain of The Flash season 3. Mallus theories are pretty few and far between. I've seen a big one for Captain Cold, who of course died in Legends Season 1, but I feel that Savitar is the one I've seen the most. However, it's a pretty silly theory. Now, one of the pieces of evidence that points towards Savitar being Mallus is that the way Mallus describes himself is very similar to how Savitar put himself across in The Flash. Mallus is talking about, you know, basically being a god. And if you remember, that's what Savitar was. Savitar wanted to be a god because he feels that God felt no pain, and all he had to do to eliminate all the pain in his life was to become a god, hence why he made himself the god of speed by going back to the earliest times of humanity. And this is very similar to kind of the prophecies that Mallus is going on about. So this is a very loosely connected link, but this is one of the pieces of evidence. And though it's not the best one, it's a pretty simple one nonetheless, but, you know, at the end of the day, it's not exactly that strong or that compelling. Also, if you remember what was told to us in episode 10 of Legends, we were told by Nora Dark that Savitar, or not Savitar, sorry, that Mallus is, one of his things is he's actually fractured among all of space and time. And this is interesting because this links back to the season 3 finale when Savitar was putting his God plan into action, where he was going to displace himself into all of time and space. So he's literally everywhere at every possible time. So Mallus, at the point Mallus is at now, this is actually what Savitar wanted to do. This is what Savitar wanted to achieve. So could this be Savitar even further in the future and he's actually achieved this? It's a very interesting link again, although I don't think it's necessarily true. It's an interesting piece of evidence nonetheless. Now, a very interesting piece of evidence that points towards Savitar being Mallus is that it links back to Barry's message. If you remember that message that Jax and Martin found on the Wave Rider going to Captain Hunter, it was by Barry Allen himself saying, you know, don't trust Barry Allen, don't trust him, you know, there's a war coming, Captain Hunter. And this was a very interesting message, and it was supposedly a link to The Flash Season 3, but people are interpreting this as perhaps it was just a very early placement. It's actually being brought in now. That perhaps, you know, the reason Barry is, of course, saying don't trust Barry Allen is because he's saying don't trust Savitar, because he literally looks exactly the same as me. He basically is me. Don't trust him. If he shows up, even if it is me, don't trust me. It won't end well. And this is a kind of link that people are saying if Savitar is Mallus, you know, if he's going to show up in the typical Barry Allen looking form, then the Legends and Rip Hunter might immediately trust him because they know Barry, but then it's actually not Barry, it's Savitar. So it's another link there, and definitely an interesting one for me, that one. Now, in that recorded message, Barry says a very important line where he says, "There is a war coming, Captain Hunter." And this is interesting because a lot of the marketing for Legends Season 3, especially in this back half, has been promoting this war coming. And people have even been saying this line themselves in Legends Season 3, you know, Constantine was saying it, you know, and Damien Dark was saying there's a war coming. And this is, again, a bit more of a loose link, but it's just, again, a similar thing. Barry has warned Rip Hunter about this future war coming, and now in Legends we're kind of talking about this war. So it's coming together, it seems. However, again, it's a bit of a far-fetched piece there, but definitely an interesting one to discuss there. Now, this actually I'm going to debunk just for one simple reason. All this evidence I've just applied to is going to get thrown down the toilet straight away. Supposedly, the whole message about Barry saying to Rip Hunter there's a war coming links back to the original story for The Flash Season 3, which, if you don't know, basically there was going to be a meta-human war. That was going to be the story of Season 3 before we did the whole Iris is in danger thing. We were going to have a meta-human war where it was going to be Savitar who was the leader. He was obviously that's what the cult of Savitar was about. If you remember that storyline that was completely dropped off, that's why Alchemy was on the scene. You know, Alchemy was brought in. He was creating all these metas because he was going to create an army for Savitar to use, and that army was, of course, the cult of Savitar, who was led by Alchemy and then who was headed up by Savitar. So that was kind of, they were setting up this hierarchy, and it was going to be an army to take down Barry and Team Flash, and it was going to be this huge war for Central City with the Speedsters and all of Team Flash against these metahumans. But the Season 3 story was retconned, as you'll remember, you know, because that wasn't the story of The Flash Season 3. You know, The Flash Season 3 actually ended up with Barry accidentally being thrusted into the future. He saw Savitar kill Iris, and the rest of the story was being spent trying to change the future so that Iris was not killed. So all of this evidence saying that Savitar is Mallus is very interesting, and it is quite viable. However, when you look at it in reality, that is the truth. You know, that was an old story, and yes, it may have been set up for a story at a point, but that story is completely gone now, and it's completely irrelevant because the Season 3 story was completely retconned. So that basically debunks the whole theory in one go, which is a shame because it is an interesting theory, but that's the way it is. Now, the reason I said that Wally could have a connection here is that if it is Savitar, which I don't think it is, but if it is Savitar, then obviously Wally does have a connection to Savitar. We got that in The Flash Season 3. He's kind of the reason why Wally got his powers. And also, the fact that Wally's a speedster and he knows Barry means he kind of knows Savitar. So that, you know, and he's fought Savitar before, so Wally, you know, could literally be an ideal recruit for Rip to kind of go up to him and say, look, because, you know, Rip seems to know a bit more about Mallus, and he seems that he leads on, and he's sort of going to be to him, look, I know who this guy is, and I need your help specifically. This is why I'm recruiting you. And that's why I feel Wally could be being brought on, other than the fact that obviously he's an extremely popular character that wasn't being used on his own show. But again, there's a possible reason why Wally is being brought onto the Legends here. Again, this is not confirmed, but it's an interesting point to look at. So, do I think that Mallus is Savitar? No, I just don't think it's a realistic enough option. It's just it seems a little bit far-fetched, just a little bit. Like I said, the evidence is actually quite solid, but then again, when you look at it in what it actually means, it's just, you know, in terms of the whole hints and the setup, it was all set up for a story that we never actually got. And yeah, the writers could say, oh well, it was set up for this thing the entire time, but you'll know that's basically a lie. Also, I feel if Mallus was Savitar, it'd be an extremely underwhelming reveal. It'd just be, you know, Savitar in himself was a unfulfilling reveal, being revealed to be a version of Barry Allen, because we all knew that instantly. We all kind of figured it out at a point before the reveal that, oh, this is going to be some version of Barry Allen. It was pretty obvious at a point, and therefore I feel, it'll kind of be like a reveal on a reveal, and it would just be a bit wasteful, a bit pointless. And this season in the Arrowverse, after the extremely disappointing Vigilante reveal, I feel like we need something to have a bit of mystery, and I feel Mallus being this extremely powerful, extremely mysterious character, we need to have a great reveal in terms of who this character is, and I feel Savitar would not be able to fulfill that whatsoever. So who do you guys think Savitar is? Tell me in the comment section down below who you think he is, or Mallus is, should I say, not Savitar. Do you think it is Savitar? You could think it is. If you don't think it's him, who do you think it could be? The possibilities are endless at this point as to who he could be. There's just so many options. We do know that the character is going to be completely CGI, and this does infer the fact that he is going to be a mystery character that we've seen before, who we're going to recognise. So who do you think it could be? Tell me in the comment section below. So thank you guys for watching this episode of DC TV Talk. If you enjoyed it, please give it a like, it will help me out a lot, and share this video with anyone and everyone you know who loves DC TV and get them to join the community. And as always guys, please subscribe for all of your latest content on Supergirl, The Flash, Legends of Tomorrow, Arrow and Black Lightning. And with all that said, I hope to see you guys again in my next video.